Good, beautiful morning, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of Shortcuts for Your Soul. My name is William Michael Forbes. I'm a spiritual medium, a channel, and an intuitive life coach. And today I have with me the energy of the Ascended, who want to share about the enslaving of human innocence and how humanity over the last 120 years has lost its innocence. Very interesting consideration I think you're going to enjoy. When I asked them what they mean by human innocence, and they said that where you become less concerned with respect and caring and kindness and more obsessed with things and possessions, power and control. Innocence has been enslaved. Very interesting consideration. I saw a video the other day of a person walking a red carpet in Hollywood. And they're walking across and they've got their young child in their arms. And they indicate to the audience that's watching them walk across the red carpet, and they said, applause. And the little child is watching everybody, and they're about maybe two and a half, and they're just sitting in the arms of the father. And he implores everybody to applaud. So everybody in the audience that's watching him starts to applaud. And all of a sudden, the little child begins to applaud very clumsily because they're not that coordinated. But in response to everybody applauding, they react by simply applauding back. They mimicked, they replayed, they represented what was presented to them by a whole bunch of people. Everybody was doing it. That impression went in through the sight center of the child's eyes and the sound center of the person's ears, and they repeated back what they saw. And from a very young age, your children are very impressionable, that they cannot reason or evaluate anything that you present to them inductively. And what we mean by inductively is there's no capacity for independent analysis from a very young age until you hit your biological age of around 7 years of age, when you begin to consider evaluating what is being said to you and presented to you. You begin. But prior to that time, from the moment of conception up until that period of time, you are in what we call innocence. You are impressionable. You are malleable. You are controllable to various degrees. And because of this, your mechanisms of communication, which have evolved quite rapidly over the last 120 years, your way of communicating with each other has rapidly evolved. And so information has become more easily propagated throughout your planet. And many of you have been swooned by what you call entertainment, simply sitting in front of screens and allowing things to come into your mind without any due course of reason. And particularly younger children in the last 70 to 90 years have been exposed to this directly in your homes through mediums such as radio communications and television communication, where stuff is broadcast right into your home. And many of you, like that little child in the arms of the father who claps in response to everybody clapping, many of you from very young age placed in front of these communication devices, these entertainment systems, lost your innocence because you had no capacity to inductively evaluate the truth, the falsity, the righteousness, or the evil of what was being presented to you. And over this last 120 years, your innocence has been eroded, corrupted, and manipulated to serve the purposes of those who did inductively understand that humanity was fairly easy to manipulate from its innocence, so that you could find yourself in the situation now where you could basically be told to do almost anything to yourself or one another without question. It has been clearly demonstrated, particularly in the last 110 years. War, violence, greed, avarice, distrust. Many millions of you have died at the hands of this conditioning and programming that has set you against one another. You lost your innocence because you did not understand, and those who were in charge of you did not understand either. Even those who were mesmerized and amazed by the great screens of moving objects, radio signals coming in, all of you attentively listening to what was being spoken to you, and those few that knew and understood that they could say and present things to your mind, and that without your conscious ability to reason inductively, you were brought into functions of belief and practices of behavior that you would not naturally have chosen. Many of you think that you are operating in your own free will, find yourselves in undue suffering, disease, and illness simply because you could not reason inductively on what was being presented to you. That you were taught to believe what you were taught to believe from a very young age. The innocence of your parents seeking to have the time to do other things would place you before a system of information and leave you there, sometimes for many hours, would leave you in front of a system of information, often unaware that that system of information was instructing and training their children into very specific functions of thought and behavior and action. You were not simply observing the movement of bodies on a screen or words from a box. The mind of those who were listening was being influenced and directed in very precise and specific ways to place you into a function of action and belief that was malleable to certain individuals, particularly your leadership, that has learned to use these mechanisms of communication to keep you asleep and unconscious of the great divine that lives within you and not in this world. You've been convinced to believe that the only existing reality is the one that you've been presented to accept with your ears and your eyes. And yet there is another vast, immense, infinite reality of possibilities available to you, but you've lost your innocence by the conditioning that has been presented to you through these systems of communication and entertainment, which were designed initially to give you all the opportunity to understand that there are dimensions of existence that go beyond the physical realm. Instead, these devices of entertainment and instruction were repurposed to keep you trapped and ensnared into the illusion that you are just a simple body, or that you are simply a collage of information in your mind that was given to you by somebody else. And much of what you have been taught to believe about what you are as a person is incorrect. You've been taught to believe that violence is acceptable and normal to watch, that it is okay to be taken advantage of and harmed. There's a great percentage of you that believe this. You have been conditioned by these systems of information to believe that that which is right is wrong, and that which is evil is good. You've been convinced to believe things without the process of due reason being available to you. You think that placing your child before a screen of information, that they will not be influenced and impressed by that. That watching what you would call silly cartoons of violence and aggression would not make an impression upon them. You ask the question, why is there so much violence in the world? Why is there so much aggression? Why is there so much greed? Why is there so much anger? You ask these questions, and the answer is right in your own home. Watch what you observe in these systems of information that were originally designed to reveal to you these other realms of consciousness on which we and many others exist. Instead, these tools were used to keep you enslaved to this dimension and this dimension alone. And even though your sciences are beginning to reveal that there are other dimensions, the vast majority of you simply accept that this is the only one that you live in, the only one that you can know and understand or comprehend, and nothing could be further from the truth. So much of your violence, much of your aggression, much of your confusion was given to you under the understanding that it was something special to watch a box, to sit before a great screen, to simply listen to information without question. And that model extended itself into taking your children into systems of information where, again, now the function of the role of the parents was taken away and given over to those in positions of what you call educational positions, where, again, an onslaught of information is presented to these young children without the due regard for inductive capacities of reasoning. And they now have your children at very young ages under the idea of convenience, under the idea that you can go out and make a little extra money to pay your bills, when they who control the system of finances orchestrated in such a fashion so as to maintain an order of control over you, while they educate and instruct your children on ideas and beliefs that your child is incapable of their own free will of knowing is good or not good. The function of inductive reasoning does not occur in a human being, generally speaking, until around what you call the biological age of 7 years. At that point, the child can begin to question, but by then, the information that has been placed in there before has been placed in there without due reason and emerges in what you call the teenage years. It emerges into the crazy years of unfortunate behavior, self-deprecation, sexualization, and many other functions. What goes into the mind of an individual from the moment of conception to the moment of the biological age of approximately 7 goes in there unreasoned and unconsidered, but still has an influence upon the individual, whether they are conscious of it or not. Because the information was not reasoned on, accepted in a fashion of consciousness, it simply was dumped into the mind of that individual. This goes on even now around the world. Your children are placed in educational systems, given information that is not necessarily effective or true or beneficial. And then your child is unleashed with that information in the world, and you wonder why there is so much confusion. And even those that are confused wonder why they are confused, because the vast majority of you were conditioned to be confused from a very young age. Ennobilizing crime and violence, ennobilizing anger, ennobilizing gossip, ennobilizing specialness, which does nothing but separate you from one another. If you understood the true and wondrous, unique light of the divine that rests within each of you, if you come to know that, you would understand the value of yourself and each other to such an extent that the respect and honor you would have for one another would be profound, to say the least. Your civilization would be vastly different than the one that you currently exist in right now. And so you wonder why there is war and aggression and violence. It is because the function of information placed upon the minds of the vast majority of you over the last 120 years has been controlled by but a few who understood very well that the functions of behavior could be induced prior to the age of reason. That age of reason being the function biologically of around 7 years of age, where you begin to have the capacity to question and evaluate thoughts. And while you may have that capacity later on in years, this information that lays deep in the subconscious fabric of your mind bears an influence upon you, whether you know it or not. And as long as it remains unquestioned, as long as you do not question why you think what you think, why you say what you say, why you do what you do, then you will simply be controlled and manipulated by that information, sitting quietly, working its insidiousness in your subconscious fields. But at any time, in any age, the process of awakening can begin. The process of awakening can begin at any age. Even in the moment of your greatest despair and suffering, you can begin to awaken. Even in your lowest of low points, you can begin to awaken by the mere choice to begin to question, what is the source of my suffering, my fear, my anger, my guilt, what is the source of that? You can begin to question. It will not take you very long to realize that you watched many shows, so-called entertainment, had been given much information that would precipitate emotional states of anger and sadness, helplessness and hopelessness. The vast majority of what you call your entertainment has but a few redeeming moments where you have great tragedy and travesty and suffering for the vast majority of your entertainment cycle, the cycle of entertainment being that a show that you would watch over a period of time, with only brief and small moments of hope and possibility seeded into a quagmire of despair and gossip and frustration and distrust. If you begin to question the nature and source of your emotional energy, you can begin to release yourself from it. For much of what you've been taught to think and feel and believe from your systems of education, your systems of information, that being your radio systems and your television systems, these systems have been primarily repurposed to be devices of control, power, and authority over your own will, and do not loan themselves to allowing you to question or reflect on why you feel what you feel. And yet you have the opportunity in any moment to begin to evaluate the nature and source of your emotions, the information that you believe. If you refuse to question what you believe and why you feel what you feel, then you will be stuck believing what you believe and feeling what you're feeling. You will sense, and wrongly so, that you have no capacity to alter or change what you feel. And this is the great lie. Because you did not have the opportunity to reason upon what was given to you, it simply seems to be, from your perspective, just the way you feel. But let us assure you that the moment you place the light of reason upon any emotion, you can release yourself from it. The minute you begin to question the nature and source of why you think or feel or believe in a certain way, the minute you do this for yourself, you will begin to liberate yourself from that pool of information designed to condition you into being nothing more than a system of manipulation and control for those who would benefit at their ability to control you and your ability to simply acquiesce to being controlled and simply accepting what you've been told. Reason upon anything, even what you hear here and now. But when you find yourself lost and confused, especially then evaluate what is the nature and source. Where did I acquire these thoughts and emotions from? This fear, this anger, this sad, where did I acquire this from? It did not come from nowhere. You were not born with it. And so your innocence has been enslaved. And you are lost in the information that has been poured into your mind before you could think about it. Like being given a meal with your eyes closed and eating, simply trusting that what you're going to be fed is good for you. And each time a child is placed before one of these systems of entertainment, no matter how sophisticated it might appear, or cutesy and nice it might appear, it is a system of information that can be used and purposed for the enslavement and manipulation of each and every one of you. These instruments of communication, your radio systems, your television systems, these were designed to reveal to each and every one of you that there are dimensions of existence beyond the perceptibility of your physical senses that you, of your own free will, may begin to gain access to. You can gain access to different realms of consciousness and dimensions. They exist. They move all around you right now, these dimensions, these frequencies, these places of existence and being that we live on, through which we've learned to punch through so that we can communicate to you in this fashion. Through this instrument of communication, as the body that you're in is an instrument for communication, and not just for the words and the sounds and the smells, but your mind and your body are capable of being attuned to different frequencies of information. You can gain information from other sources than this world. But you've been led to believe that only this world is real. It is the only existing reality: sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. And let us clarify that is absolutely not true. For how do you orchestrate the function of your body? From where do you do that? And where do you observe and store your mind, your thoughts, your memories? Where are they? How can you observe them? There are realms of consciousness, dimensions of experience that you can gain access to. And these systems of communication that you see upon the world were designed for that purpose, to reveal to you that there are other realms of consciousness, realms of great wonder, beings of great wisdom and knowledge. The many houses of what you call your God. In your Father's house, there are many mansions, many dimensions, many places to learn, to know, to experience beyond what you know from your mind and your body and this physical dimension. You have this capacity for creation that goes far beyond the scope of your physical organism. But you've been conditioned and manipulated to believe a very limited set of considerations. Be very mindful what you will expose your children to. For much of the confusion that you see in this world is because you've been exposed to ideas that are incorrect and erroneous and extremely destructive. You've been exposed to ideas that greed and anger, distrust are just natural parts of your day. You've been exposed to believe that greed and crime are just a natural function of your society. You've been exposed to ideas to believe that you cannot trust, that war is inevitable, that what you create is somebody else's. You've been conditioned to accept many ideas that go contrary to what is actually true. And these only propagate because these ideas remain unquestioned by you. You hear the term in your language, death and taxes. You've heard it so many times, you simply accept and believe that that is true. They never speak to you about everlasting life and the infinite abundance of the divine. Why do you not think of this? That there's eternal life and the endless abundance of the divine. You've been taught to believe that there is somehow a lack. And yet you would accept the idea that there is a divine consciousness you call God that has no limits. And yet you would say that it is limited in your experience. You must understand what you choose to allow yourself to be exposed to. You must become very conscious of the information you would accept from all sources, to reason upon it consciously. You ask questions like, why are there so many of us sitting in basements, isolated from the world? Because you hide from the information placed upon you. You now play games in which you perpetuate murder, mayhem, and destruction in a world of fantasy that has an influence and effect upon this dimensional reality that you call Earth. Whatever you place in your mind will have influence and effect in your world as you see it now. Be mindful what you put your eyes and ears towards in this world. For what you put your eyes and ears toward will influence and affect you without the capacity to reason, especially between that very, very delicate age between conception and your biological age of 7. In that particular time work, there is much change that can occur without due reason. Be mindful where you put your children and to what you expose them to. The innocence of humanity has become enslaved and corrupted by these systems of information that were originally designed to reveal to you these other dimensions of information and consciousness available to you. Radio, television, these are many dimensions of which you see but a small fraction. And most of you don't even see or comprehend what we're saying, that systems of radio communication are different dimensions of existence. There are different dimensions of existence that you can tune into and become aware of. Hear us, call upon us, acquire knowledge and wisdom not readily available to you. It's what your scientists do, whether they know it or not. They follow breadcrumbs and they gain access to realms of information beyond what they knew before. And so you wonder where your ascended masters and your angels and your guides exist. They exist upon these other dimensional realms of a consciousness that you can learn to tune your attention into. Just like you can tune your eyes to see a tree or a bird, you can attune your inner sight to see and observe the beings that live on other dimensions. As easy as you can selectively tune your ear to the sound of a wave or the chirp of a bird, you can tune your inner ear to hear us speak to you. Each and every one of you has this capacity. But you've been so enslaved by the systems of information that were given to you. It is why you have not created much more. It is why your systems of communication are generally limited to radio and television. The function of quantum communication is just beginning its age upon your planet right now, but again can be equally manipulated in a far more profound and wondrous way, as equally as it can be a very destructive and detrimental way. Look at how you've used the existing systems of communication that we have revealed to you. Look how you've used the existing systems of communication that we've revealed to you. Systems that allow you to communicate to each other over vast distances, to extend your love and compassion and grace, or your anger, your fear, your judgment. How are you using the systems of communication on just these two realms? Radio signals alone. These different frequencies are literally other dimensions through which you communicate. And yet it is not restricted to this world. It's simply that it's not quite ready. It's not quite your time yet. You must begin to release erroneous, destructive, and detrimental patterns of thinking and believing from your collective unconsciousness. You collectively and individually assert influence upon time, space, and matter. And collectively, you have much to learn. You carry great fear and judgment. You have religions and ideologies and philosophies that go contrary to the truth of life. Many of your ideologies, your radicalisms, go against the true nature of life, which is growth and evolution and development. An organized unity. This is what nature is. It's an organized unity that collaborates with itself. It is easy to see the signs are all around you in what you call your natural world, your plant and animal kingdoms, where there is a natural, healthy economy that unfolds all the time. Well, humanity, likewise, is supposed to operate in such a fashion, dynamically and organically, in union and in harmony. But systems of information have led to certain conditions of indoctrination and beliefs that do not allow you to work as a unified whole together. You've been set against each other, one another, believing that there is somehow a different God, a different life. There is only one life, and you are all in it. You're all in the one life right now. You have not learned to operate in it cooperatively or sufficient enough that we would invite you into our world. So you must relinquish your fear and your anger, your confusion, your control, your greed. You must release those things that cause you to harm one another. If you are willing to do this, then the next step in your journey will come. But please understand, be very mindful what systems of information you allow into your eyes and into your ears, especially your young ones. For the convenience of time that you can clean your house or cook your meal, you would place your children before a screen without questioning, rather than bringing your child with you and delighting them in the experience of what you're doing, allowing them to participate in your life. And be very mindful of what you allow to go into the mind of your children, when and where. The confusion that any of you is experiencing in this world is because much has gone into your mind without good reason. And the vast majority of you do not want to question it. You do not even want to question your suffering or your anger or your fear or you do not want to question what is the source of it. Where did it originate? Because you were not born with it. You were not born angry. You were not born sad. You were not born confused. You were not born jealous. You were not born poor. You were simply innocent. But what happened from that moment of innocence to now, much information went into your mind that has confused you. And once you begin to recognize that there is a distinction between you and the information, the beliefs, the ideas that you have in your mind, at that point of realization, you can begin to reconstruct, to renovate your mind so as to make it pleasing to you, so that when you close your eyes at any time in the day, you will be pleased at what is within you. But you must begin that renovation at your earliest opportunity. Do not waste time. Every function of your consciousness, energetically in the form of emotion, has an effect on time and space. Humanity collectively is predominantly in the energy of fear, and the movement away from this fear has begun. You are beginning to shift from ignorance towards reason and intelligence, away from reaction to creation. And we can say to you that the movement, if it continues in the way it is presently, your shift away from power, control, manipulation, greed, confusion, anger, judgment, war, will be quite fast, as the function of love and good reason transforms and transmutes far faster than the mechanisms of fear. although the mechanisms of fear are far more destructive and harmful than the mechanisms of love. But you will come to know this. But evaluate why you think what you think, why you feel what you feel. Understand that much of what you think and feel has nothing to do with who you are, and more to do with what you've been taught to think or feel or believe, over which you did not or were not able to intelligently question or reason. That you were placed in front of a system of communication and simply allowed to have that information go in your mind unquestioningly, to watch characters upon a screen behaving in ways that are not necessarily so good, and simply not being able to question that it is good or not so good. And so many of you are acting out in functions and in ways and for reasons you do not even know. Many of you sitting in jails wondering, why am I here? Simply because you were placed in systems of information that exposed you to ideas and beliefs that were detrimental to yourself. And without questioning that which is in your own heart, you cannot change what is in your life. But any one of you, in that moment, you say, I need to question why I am angry, why I am afraid, why I am upset. I need to question the source of these emotions and these behaviors. Where do they originate? And it's easy to see in your systems of so-called entertainment the propagation of violence and sexuality, confusion, aggression, distrust, sown into the minds of so many millions. And there are places around your world, you call them zones that are blue, where people live great long lives because they participate and they live with each other. They live in the real world, participating and doing things. And those of you that have lived in more advanced civilizations have a wonderful opportunity. That if you learn to release from your mind the anger, the fear, the unreasonable ideas and beliefs, let them go from your mind, then your technology will soon open doors through which you can communicate with many great ones, with many beings and individuals that will offer you knowledge and wisdom with ease and grace, knowledge that will let you travel to the cosmos, to any place of time and space, to satiate your desire to explore the unexplored, but not until you have understood that you must go forth in reason, in love, in goodwill. You must go forth in love, not in fear. Wow. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, we have a few minutes. Hi, Animo. Thank you for that super chat. Really appreciate it. Are the Ascended open to share information about the one known as Yaldabaoth, and what role, if any, it plays in today's message? They're saying, no, this one has no relevancy at this time, but you can simply listen and feel the vibration of their name. We would not recommend that you speak or think that name if you can avoid it, as you will begin to understand how profoundly simple creation operates in the realm of vibration. It would do you wisdom to not speak that name or consider that name, but rather focus on a name that you know to be of love. Yeshua, Buddha, Yogananda, Krishna. There are many sacred names you can speak that will be very beneficent and powerful for you. Wow, great question. Hi. Oh, you're very, very welcome. Thank you so much. Glad to hear it. It's so true what they're saying. We've been conditioned. Hello, Melody. Good to see you, darling. Hello, Lauren. Lauren's asking, am I here to transform and transmute negative energies? I've tried to live a good life, and I thought I was coming out of difficulties, and it just seems to keep coming. That means you have to keep going Understand letting it go, but at the same time using good reason to be mindful of what you will place in your mind, be mindful of what you place in your body, be mindful what you put your attention on. Take time to leave this world through the function of meditation. Take time to leave this world through the function of meditation. Leave your thoughts behind. Leave your emotions and memories behind. Give yourself some respite. Step out of the mind. Step out of the body. Step out of your emotions. Give yourself rest and reprieve from the world and come back renewed. In the process of meditation, when it is properly effected, will begin the process of vibrationally restoring your mind, your emotions, and your body. When you move into the state of your true being, that aspect of yourself that is not mind or body, memory, emotion, when you step into that aspect of yourself that is not of the mind, of the body, you will bring something wonderful back into this world. You will begin to energetically shift and change your mind. The function of meditation is transformative because it gives you experience with yourself and not the personality that you've been living in, some of you for many lifetimes, repeating one personality after another after another. The function of meditation is designed to give you an experience of yourself that is not defined by the world, but by the very nature of what you are. You experience yourself as you are in meditation. Not as you think, not as you feel, not as the flesh emotes, but as you are. And in that vibrational state of being what you are, the very nature of that vibration, as you bring it to the body, begins to renew the body and mind energetically. The mind and body begin to become renewed by being in the energy of your true nature, which is love. Wow, great question, Lauren. Hi. Hi there. Glad to join today. Thank you for coming out. Really appreciate it. What's the best food for me to lose weight? The best food for you to lose weight. Sorry, somebody told me, tell her no food. A water fast is what they told me. But I also got other beings here too that they were giggling about that. But the water fast would be very good for you if it's about losing weight. But somebody else will tell me it's not about the weight. It's about the emotion you're carrying around. You must understand that much of what is happening in your body is happening in your mind, in the energetic field of your emotions. It is the healing of your emotional energy that when you begin to come to peace, compassion, patience, gratitude, joy, then the function of your body begins to change spontaneously. In your case, the release of certain emotional qualities will certainly prove beneficial for you to let go of certain emotions that you do not need to carry around with you anymore. How to release these emotions is very important. How to learn to release these emotions. Hi. Hi there. After 6 years, I think I understand why the healthcare department kept fear prevalent. Yes, of course you would. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hi. Oh, you're very welcome, Kathy. Nova's asking, thank you. I was just last night questioning my past and why I am who I am today, and mostly what I want in life, or where I went. It's so important. Without that process of questioning, again, I'll paraphrase what they're saying. Without going into a process of questioning, why do I think this? Most of the thoughts that we have didn't even come from us. Most of the thoughts you have in your mind right now, doesn't matter who you are, most of the thoughts in your mind did not originate with you. The beliefs, the ideas, the emotions you have, many of them did not originate from you. Many of them originated from systems of information that you've been exposed to, usually as a young child, usually through educational systems. television, radio, music. Music's a big way of controlling and what's they called this today? They said it was enslaving innocence. Music, they said music is the most powerful way to enslave innocence. Music, if you listen to the lyric of almost any song has loss and sadness and detriment, and they put it in with happy, upbeat music. They've learned to use these systems of communication, they being those who know how to manipulate and control you for their benefit. It's falling apart now, by the way. This whole system of darkness, manipulation, control is collapsing. This whole movement to control and enslave humanity to be basically just slaves, feeding the appetites of those in authority and control, this system is collapsing rapidly. The resurrection of love into the social political sphere of governance is now underway. It's now well underway. Love is beginning to reemerge. Good reason is beginning to reemerge back into the mainstream. And we're going to see wonderful changes over the next couple of years, socially, economically, politically, because love is returning back to politics. I know it sounds strange, but it's true. A lot of people don't want to believe that. I would love to tell you, you just gave me the best help against the needlers. Let them go from mine. Yes, so important. So important. I'm glad that helped you. Hi. Anyway, my older brother will listen to me to break his karma. Do it in your heart. Sometimes you cannot confront a person directly if they're in a pattern of destructiveness. What you need to do is go into a pattern of internal communication. Wish him well. Talk to his soul. Like in your mind, talk to his soul, not his personality. Tell his soul you can let go of your anger, your pain, your guilt, your shame. You can actually talk to his higher self, right? We can do that all the time. Excuse me, they're doing some yard work outside. Those of you on TikTok might be able to hear that. Okay. I understand. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the gifts and thank you for the support. I really appreciate that. Daniela is asking, question. First transcription of Narina was rapidly brought to paper in a language not known to her. Which language was it? I'm being told to tell her Atlantean. I'm being told to tell her Atlantean. Atlantean. Hi. Oh, that's what's happening, okay? I got time. Thank you for subscribing to my TikTok channel. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Very grateful. Is there a reason for my fatigue these days? Yes, toxicity. It's biological toxicity. You need to clear the toxicity out of your body. Very important thing to do. Get that toxicity out of your body, right? A cleanse, a juice fast will be really good. Just juice cleanse will be really, really helpful for you. There are other things that can be beneficial for you as well. Yes, okay. I think we're good for today, folks. Well, guys, I will see you guys on the Monday edition of Shortcuts Your Soul. Have yourselves a wonderful and joy-filled weekend. Remember to like, subscribe, and share if you've enjoyed the information on this channel. I want to thank the Ascended and the individuals within that group that came forward today. And I want to thank all of you for being a part of this. And remember, like, subscribe, share, apply this. I mean, this is just precious. We need to know this. And I want to wish you all much, much love. Have yourself a wonderful and a joyful day. Bye for now, everybody.